Hi, everybody. We are back with another episode of the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast. I'm your host today, CMM, but you can call me Clay. And I've got two very special guests today, if y'all would like to introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is James. I'm LylatR in the Discord.
Hello, I am Shasta. I speedrun video games.
Sweet. So today is all about Games Done Quick, or specifically Summer Games Done Quick 2021, which will be starting a few days after this episode goes up. We wanted to give you guys a preview, give you an idea of some cool stuff to watch if you have never, seen speedruns before, or even if you have. To very briefly summarize, Games Done Quick is a week-long charity marathon. This one in particular raising money for Doctors Without Borders. And they do so by having essentially an internet marathon of people playing through games as quickly as possible. Hence, speedrunning. Both James and Shasta are speedrunners, and we've all three of us have been at GDQs and different speedrunning events together. So we thought it would be nice to give you all a preview. Can you both briefly tell us about your background in speedrunning and with GDQ?
Yeah, for sure. So my first GDQ was in 2016. I started watching it in 2013. So I attended SGDQ 2016 as my first event and volunteered at that and ran Star Fox 64 at SGDQ 2019.
Sweet. I've been attending GDQ since AGQ 2015. It's a bi-yearly event, and I'm lucky enough to be able to have done that pretty much every year since then, bi-yearly. Like, I just spent a lot of time in GDQs, and also I've run a lot of games in GDQs. I've run, I'm not going to list everyone, but I've run a lot of Kirby games, like Kirby Nightmare and Dreamline. This upcoming SGDQ is actually my third time running that game in the GDQ. I've run Kirby Squeeze Squad as well before. Star Fox Assault in the past, Warrior Land 4... A lot of games like that. A lot of cool video games. I've run a lot of those in GDQs before.
And my particular favorite, Metroid Prime Hunters for the Nintendo DS.
Yes. And Metroid Samus Returns. That one as well.
And we do have a lot of Metroid fans here, so
I'm a big one as well, too. We can't wait for Metroid Dread.
Yeah, all three of us are pretty much ready for Dread to happen. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
We're basically going to take you day by day through the schedule and kind of just talk about some of the stuff we think would be cool. And honestly, the very first thing that we've got is actually the pre-show. James, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So the pre-show is generally just a synopsis of what's going on during the week. It's not just literally listing games. It's pretty much like a comedy routine, and it's done really, really well. So if at the event you want to know some speedrunners' recommendations, maybe stuff that we didn't list here, I definitely recommend checking that out.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, we'll be going day by day, but it's going to be pretty much going by Pacific time. So if you see us mention like a specific time or like time of day, we are referring to the time in Pacific. So the first day is Sunday, July 4th. We have the pre-show. And then I know the first one we wanted to mention was one of yours, James.
It's F-Zero GX. The runner is one David J, and he's going to be running a category called Snaking All Tracks. So if you've played F-Zero GX, it's a very fast, very high-octane racing game. And you can break the heck out of this game, and the runner goes insanely fast, way faster than you normally can. So if you want to see something quick, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
If I recall, he like does stuff like going off a track briefly to gain a little bit of speed here and there, like going against the railing, like using like tilting his vehicle a certain way, so he just grinds against like the wall to get a lot more speed. It's ridiculous. If you like racing game runs at all, you absolutely love this run.
Yeah, or if you're an F-Zero fan, check it out. The runner is also a friend of ours, and he's fantastic.
The homie David.
Absolutely. Yeah. So next, later that day, is Kirby Superstar. Shasta, you want to talk about that one?
Oh yeah, I've run a lot of Kirby games. I've run primarily Superstar Ultra, but I can talk a bit about Superstar here. So this run in particular is 8%, which for that game is being 4 out of 7 game modes. That would be I think the runners usually start in Great Cave Offensive, then go to Dying Blade, and then Revenge of Mennonites, and then Milky Way Wishes. Reason for that being they're all modes that have like a story to them. Like Spring Breeze and Goron Race do not have that. It's just you're racing deity. You're playing the tutorial pretty much.
Right.
But those are the modes that just need to be in frame percent. That's what the community defined it as, basically. It's a really cool run. Superstar in particular is one of the more broken Kirby games in the series because there actually are stuff like wall clips you can do in that run, which the run will be doing, along with abusing a few powers and doing like plasma, which if you do 16 inputs with on the D-pad, you get a full charge, and you'll be seeing the runner do that like very, very quickly, back to back to back to back, in like a very short amount of time to destroy bosses.
So for context, yeah, if you guys haven't played Kirby Superstar, the Plasma Power-Up, or Plasma Wisp, I think it's kind of got combined into the Spark Power in recent games.
Yeah.
The more you move around on the D-pad, the more he kind of like charges up energy, and you can shoot out like giant, powerful blows. So when Shasta mentions the 16 inputs, he's talking like they're going to mash and like make those giant beams come out very quickly after one another.
It's going to be ridiculous. You're not going to miss it.
And then there's a run right after that as well.
Yep, 007 Nightfire by my friend Liam. Now, Liam is the record holder for every category in Nightfire. He's very, very good at it. That game has a lot of brokenness, and the fact there's a bunch of clips you can do in most of the levels. I think if I recall, he showed me this at like the last in-person GDQ, I think, but you have to like crouch and then pull out a certain item at the right time, and if you do that correctly into like a wall, you can just kind of clip through it if you do it the right way. And there's also like a really cool clip you can do too, using like a vehicle, because there are vehicle levels in that game. But there's one where you can just kind of clip out of bounds, like right at the start of the level, and just drive your car over the void to get to the very end of the level just immediately. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that game's gonna be a treat to watch.
Yeah, that game's a blast.
It's also a nostalgic favorite of mine too. I played the game a lot growing up.
Yeah, and when we mention it's probably good to quickly mention, when we mention stuff like Out of Bounds, that's one fairly self-explanatory. You're just getting out of where you should be able to get in a normal gameplay. And when you hear something like any percent, that's just essentially just completing the game as fast as possible. I know that sounds like maybe it's like, why do you need to call it any percent? But you'll see as we go through this, there's different qualifiers for runs. Basically, you're looking to get to the credits in any way possible, even if that's like basically just glitching the whole game out to warp. So that's typically why the label any percent is used.
Yeah, some people call it beat the game as well too. It's really all the same thing.
Yeah. So the next day is Monday, and something I'd like to bring up is the Nintendogs run on the DS. Some people may be like, well, how do you speedrun freaking Nintendogs?
Yep.
The category here is all beginner contest golds. So if you're familiar with the Nintendogs, you can like kind of train your dogs in like these events, and that is pretty much what this run is just getting all the gold medals in each of those events. And it's a fun off-kilter run that I think a lot of people will enjoy, even if you're not super familiar with speedrunning. And then a little later that day, we have the latest Ghosts and Goblins game, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. Now, the runner for that game is the Mexican runner, or TMR. He's known for a lot of things, especially Battletoads. He'll be playing on Squire difficulty and going through the first loop of the game. And as many of you know, Ghosts and Goblins, and Resurrection in particular, it's hard. It's very tough. So TMR is just extremely good at these precision platforming games, and I would highly recommend watching, even if you don't care about like Ghosts and Goblins that much, or you haven't played the game. Definitely keep an eye out on that one. What do we got next, Shasta?
We got Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga for the DS. That's what we got. So a lot of Lego Star Wars runs actually aren't very broken at all, but this is the exception. This game, it plays like it basically, you're playing through episodes 1 through 6 of the Star Wars series, like all the 6 movies, but they're all broken down into 5 levels. I think the first one you do, I don't know exactly why, but you actually do one of the episodes normally. You go like 1 through 5 until you unlock a certain character that allows you to basically clip, like do kind of like an infinite jump glitch to kind of just go to the end level of every single other episode, if I recall. It is a very broken game. I play it casually, and I can see why it's so busted. It's really cool. I do not miss that run, honestly. I'm looking forward to it a lot at this event.
And speaking of broken, your next game is also a broken mess.
Oh, yes it is. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes for the Nintendo GameCube. That is a broken video game. It's so good. There's gonna be a lot of out of bounds in that run. A lot of just running around just the contour of the map just to get to wherever you need to go and just get to areas way earlier than intended. Like, for instance, I know it gets to the last area of the game, which is currently escaping me right now, but it gets to the last area of the game, he goes there first. He's able to go out of bounds super early on and just kind of stay there for a while until he gets to the last area and gets there really early, and then just gets a lot of powers early from there and just destroys a certain boss way earlier than intended. It's a ridiculous run. Mr. Miguel is incredibly good at that game too.
Yeah, you get the screw attack almost immediately and then just go from there. I have a 1:14 time in Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Nice. Mr. Miguel has a 50-minute time.
Yeah, Mr. Miguel is incredibly good at this game. If you enjoy Metroid Prime, take a look at it. It may be a little difficult to follow, just a warning, because a lot of it is out of bounds. So you're not going to be in the proper game map for a good chunk of this run, but it is so fascinating if you're familiar with that game at all.
It's awesome.
And then a little after that, Shasta is in this GDQ with Kirby, Nightmare, and Dreamland. That is a race with him and our friend Rox. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's actually my third time running Kirby, Nightmare, and Dreamland in a GDQ, and every time it's been a different category. I ran 8%, I think, at SGDQ 2018. I ran 100% at SGDQ 2016. And I'm running Mid Nightmare as a race with Rox at SGDQ 2021. But Mid Nightmare is a mode in this game that basically is you have health. It has you play as Meta Knights, who just runs a lot faster than Kirby. He has a sword that he can just slash in front of you, and all around you and stuff. And all you gotta do is get through the game as fast as possible. The game also runs on in-game timer, so you'll be seeing that in the race as well. If the stream's desync for whatever reason, you'll see our in-game time, and we can just see the end the end screen and see who actually won. But yeah, it's really cool. Very fast-paced run. It's very difficult. There's probably gonna be a few deaths on both sides in that race. Not because we're bad, it's just because the game. It's just because the run's really hard, and it's very easy to mess up. But yeah, it's gonna be great. Y'all not gonna miss that one. And speaking of things you don't want to miss, the run afterwards is also a Kirby run. Yep. Whoa, I like Kirby. Who knew? But it's my friend Dark Soul running Kirby's Dream Collection All Challenges. If you don't know, Kirby's Dream Collection is a collection of retro Kirby games, Dreamline 1 through 3, Superstar, Adventure, and 64. But there's also challenge stages that are on the main menu of the game they can play that are run on their Turn Dreamline engine. That's what the speedrun is. You just want to get through it as fast as possible using, I think if I recall, use a bunch of different powers that are in Turn Dreamline, like Whip and I think Water is one of them as well. Yeah. Like Cutter, Wing, just all those. You just want to get through it as fast as possible. It's a really fun, fast run. Dark Soul's been working pretty hard on it recently too. I think she recently got a 23 1x PB or something, a low 23. Oh wow. It's gonna be a good run.
Yeah, so that run, the challenges are spread across 3 worlds. They're mostly powers from the new game, or new at the time, Return to Dreamland. And there's even some special stuff, you will see a special Smash power. And
that's in there too, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a fun time. It's a good, quick run to catch, especially if you like Kirby. So next is another run right after that. We got 3 good runs back to back to back. It is Super
Monday
Mario
is
Odyssey.
Stacked. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dangerous run Super Mario Odyssey. This is Talkatoo percent. Can you talk about that? Speaking of.
So Talkatoo percent is there is a bird in each world of the game named Talkatoo. Oh, actually, let me get back up a little bit. For the first thing I gotta say is that in each world of Super Mario Odyssey, you have to get a certain amount of moons to actually progress through into the next world. So in this case, once you get the required story moons, which counts as 3 moons, you talk to Talkatoo, and they'll tell you, they'll give you a random moon to collect at that point, and they can do up to 3 before they start repeating. So it's essentially an exhibition of rounding, if you will, to know what moon Talkatoo gives you in the first place and how to get to that and get to the next moon as fast as you can in each world. It's really, really cool.
Yeah,
In a way, it's
so
kind of like an Odyssey randomizer, if you will.
yeah, some of us are familiar with the randomizers that will change up like item locations and stuff. For Talkatoo, when Shasta mentions routing, you can probably guess, but it's pretty much like when you're usually speedrunning a game, like say you're just playing Super Mario Odyssey and you're trying to finish the game as soon as possible in an any percent run, there's a specific route that you will take to get, the most moons or make the most progress in a certain time. With Talkatoo percent, that's sort of like thrown out the window because the moons that you have to get are random, so you need to route on the fly. So it's very interesting to see because no run is going to be exactly the same, and it challenges the runner Dangers to really like his knowledge of the game and its moons. Like he really needs to be aware of everything because you don't know what's going to happen. So it's, even though you're not seeing as much of the full game, you still require that knowledge base and that skill.
Yeah, and you can end up getting kind of screwed over in a sense because
Yep.
like if you play this and your moons are like you get the beach volleyball moon and like the jump rope moon, like
Oh, no.
yeah, that's gonna take way longer than like this moon that's sitting right next to you.
Or
Yeah.
just get moons in like in all four corners of the map, for instance. You have to go move really far away. You have to move like a lot to get there. Like that's the worst.
The last thing we got for Monday, I know James wanted to mention, but it is the first bonus game, and I just wanted to briefly mention bonus games on the GDQ schedule are met when certain donation thresholds are met. So we are doing this to raise money for Doctors Without Borders. If you can or are able to give anything at all for Doctors Without Borders, please consider doing so. But this next run, the Paper Mario Stop and Swap run, will only be added to the schedule if a certain donation threshold that will be announced is reached. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, James, if you want to talk about this one.
Something to mention as well on the donation total is show the marathon to your friends or your parents, who probably have a lot of money, who can donate to charity. So something to think of.
If you can't donate and stuff like that, like just watching and sharing it and talking about it and tweeting about it is like more than enough. Like that, all of that helps. So even if you can't give, there are other ways to help and support the cause. But Paper Mario.
Paper Mario.
Yeah, so when I say the term broken, I mean that the game has a lot of exploitable glitches and you can do a lot of unintentional things. But Paper Mario is a very broken game. And Ocarina of Time is also a very broken game. So Paper Mario Stop and Swap, as it's listed on the schedule, beats Paper Mario by playing through Ocarina of Time. That's all I need to say about that.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the term Stop and Swap, that was the concept of Banjo-Kazooie, where you would like quickly swap a cart out to maybe be able to unlock something in the game that was planned but never actually like implemented, mostly since it's potentially damaging to your hardware. So that's applying this but to two like very different games, and essentially by playing Ocarina of Time you are altering code essentially in Paper Mario to make things happen. And if that doesn't make sense, good, you're gonna want to watch.
It's ridiculous. It's definitely worth watching.
So moving on to Tuesday, July 6th, there is a game called Gone Golfing that you may be familiar with, if you want to mention that, Shasta.
Yeah, so I'd be remiss not mentioning this because the runner is actually my brother, but Gone Golfing, and he runs a lot of weird games. This is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Gone Golfing is a horror mini golf game. The idea is to go through all 18 holes of the game, while avoiding certain enemies, like a giant like golf ball with like who's all demonic and stuff. Like some person who's just like a giant fish walking around. Like, you gotta avoid all those, like, creepy monsters and stuff, while also, like, going through all 18 holes. And solving puzzles, too, if I recall, as well. It's actually really neat. But
I need to watch that.
Yeah. I know the run also ends with jump scares, so be aware of that, too. But, yeah.
If you are sensitive to that kind of stuff, definitely be aware.
Yeah, like, it's right in after time, so be aware of that. But, yeah, it's pretty neat.
And then, later that morning... we've got something.
Yeah, at ridiculous o'clock in the morning, there's a run of Chameleon Twist, which is a nice little N64 platformer game. It's very quick, it's very nice, and it's a very good exhibition of just like how you can beat a game and speedrun a game just by playing it well. So when we refer to an estimate, that basically means it's pretty much like a guess for how long the run will take. And the estimate for this is 15 minutes, and it'll show you kind of just, it's an easy game to get into speedrunning while watching.
Yeah.
And on top of that as well, the run after it, Yoshi's Story, also a very similar concept. Nostalgic N64 game, platformer. They're doing any percent, which basically means that they're going to be in every stage for 6 stages, picking up 30 fruits, and then you're just done the level. And the estimate for that one is 18 minutes. So they're both pretty quick runs that are worth checking out.
Yeah, they're both one after the other. And when we say, like, a word that you often hear for this kind of run is, like, execution heavy or honest sometimes is the word you hear. Because we won't go into this too much, but there are people who have different feelings about, speedrunning. And, like, some people enjoy runs that are more, like, seeing someone play extremely well. And there are speedruns that involve more of an emphasis on some of the glitches and stuff like that. And obviously people have opinions on those. But if you want to see 2 quick games their runs are essentially just very, like, high skill of the normal gameplay, those 2, fairly normal gameplay, those 2 are good to look at.
Speaking of high school games as well, too, right after those are actually the Castlevania block, if we want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
One of them I want to single out, though, is actually Castlevania Rondo of Blood, because one, I just really, really like that game. I never played it, but it's
the opposite end of the spectrum for glitches, too, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Rondo, I just like Rondo a lot. If for those don't know, it is the prequel to Castlevania Symphony of the Nights. And I just really like it just because the music is so good in it, and it's just a great vibe to watch it. Very easy to watch in general. You go through the game super quickly. There is one part where you do bounds, I think, to skip an auto scroller, if I recall, with using Maria, not Richter, I think. It's really neat game, and just the music is godlike. If you watch that run, you're gonna love it. Trust me.
Yeah, and if you've played Rondo of Blood before, this is another run that it does have some, out of bounds stuff, but is also a very good, clean run, just playing the game very well. A lot of the Castlevania games are like this, so I definitely recommend checking out this block that also features Castlevania 64, Bloodlines, Dawn of Sorrow, and the original Castlevania on NES at the end.
It's actually a 3-way race between the 3 different runners as well, too, which is nice.
Yeah. And then last thing for Tuesday that I wanted to point out was Battletoads is a crowd pleaser. Everyone's familiar with Battletoads. It's very hard. It's kind of annoying. TMR, aka the Mexican runner, is very known for Battletoads. He'll be doing the 100% category here. If you want to see someone who is just ridiculously good at that game, execution-wise, and especially, the infamous tunnel sections and stuff like that, you're in for a treat. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff that happens in this run. It's definitely one of those runs that if you're not familiar with speedrunning, you're looking to get into it, or you're curious, it's an easy choice to say, yeah, watch this one, and you'll get it. Like, you'll just get it. So, moving on to Wednesday, July 7th, we have Kororimpa Marble Mania.
Oh, it's my time to shine right here.
Yes.
This is the run I've been wanting to see in a GDQ or really any sort of major marathon for a long time. So, if for those that don't know, Kororimpa Marble Mania is a marble game on the Wii. The way you control it is using the Wiimotes. However, think of the Wiimote as like the entire plane of the game. So, when you flip the Wiimote upside down, the whole level flips upside down. So they use that to their advantage throughout the entire run. You can flip it upside down like any which way to get right to the goal just at the end of the level, and it's really, really, really cool. Very, very fast-paced in general.
It's one game where you're flipping a table and then it's actually a good thing instead of just getting really angry.
Pretty much. It's probably my favorite run of the entire events.
Yeah, I do not mind too.
It's at 1:47 a.m. on Wednesday PST. It's one of those runs you might have to catch the VOD for, but do not miss it in any capacity. It is gonna blow your mind.
And can you briefly just say so the category is all normal levels, new game plus. What does that mean for people who might not be initiated?
I've not actually played the game. Don't put it in a spot like this.
Oh my god. Okay.
I just really like the run a lot.
Watch it to find out.
Yeah, watch to find out.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So next is another game that you may be familiar with, and you might be wondering, how on earth do you speedrun this? And that is the browser game Geogester.
Yeah, for those that know, Geogester takes Google Map images that people have that have taken by the Google card throughout the entire world, and just like kind of makes a game out of it. The idea being to guess how far away that first image where you like plop down where the game spawns you in, like how far away you are from that. So you have to try to guess where you are, like what country you're at, and wherever else. Just like you gotta guess exactly where you are, and if you're the closer you are to. Or the closer your guess is to where you actually are, the more points you get. I think if you're within 100 yards of the actual place where you spawn in with your guess, you get a 5,000. You have to do that 5 times to get a perfect score for a round.
Yeah,
that's
and
very,
keep in
very
mind,
difficult.
That's the entire world within a 100-yard radius. Like, that's insane.
Like, you can spawn, like, somewhere, like somewhere in, like, Eastern Europe where we're not familiar with, like Slovenia, for instance. You can spawn there and you have no idea where the heck you are because you don't see this country often, like in general. Or you can spawn in like Malaysia and you've never seen Malaysia before.
Yeah, like, good luck if you ever get Russia or Canada. Like you're just screwed.
Yeah, but the runner is going to be doing. They have a 35-minute estimate for this. They're going to be getting a perfect score in Geogester in under 35 minutes, which is going to be incredibly impressive. There are certain tactics you can do, like memorizing like certain sign shapes, like certain stuff in the language on each sign. Like some countries have like an accent over certain accent over an A in their language. Some countries have like a sign that's like diamond shaped and like a certain color as well too. Like there's stuff to memorize to actually make your life easier, like that. A lot of runners gonna be looking a lot at like different signs to try and determine where they are. It's gonna be a run you don't want to miss. It's gonna be awesome.
That's one of those that's just gonna be like, what did I just watch? Essentially,
yeah.
Probably one of the highlights of the marathon, I'm gonna guess, especially if you're less into speedrunning or just looking for something cool.
Absolutely.
And then we also have Crash 4, It's About Time. This is just the any percent category, so we're looking to get to the credits as soon as possible. For those not familiar with Crash 4, it did release last year on Xbox One and PS4, and this year on Switch. It's a good, honest platforming game with Crash. It's plays similarly to the PlayStation original games if you played those. We recently actually featured this on Calithon, though it was 100%, if I remember correctly, or all gems. It was
all clear gems.
Yeah. So this one is not going for every gem. It's just looking to finish the game. But there are a lot of skips and out of bounds stuff going on in Crash 4. It's sort of it's like a wild run. It's an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half estimate. So they will be cruising is the moral of that one.
Oh yeah.
And then later that night is a very interesting The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask run, if you'd like to explain that one, James.
Oh, this ain't your grandma's run. So the category is 100% no source requirement. So a source requirement essentially is saying that, say you have the Zora mask in the game. You have to get that by pushing Mikau to the shore and playing the Song of Healing. In no source requirement, you can get that mask with any means necessary. And because the N64 Zeldas have so many glitches, you can use something called stale reference manipulation, or called SRM. And essentially, you pick up an object and unload it and put it down, do a bunch of stuff with your angle and position, and then suddenly you have a bunch of items you didn't have before. So it's insanely broken. You can get a very technical explanation most likely during the run.
Yeah.
And it's very broken. So the estimate for this is an hour and 50 minutes for 100% for Majora's Mask. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out because it's so unbelievably ridiculous.
I'm gonna point out as well too, before the Stellar First Manipulation SRM glitch was found, I think the run was actually like over 5 hours long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Something like that.
Yeah. So you can see how these crazy discoveries that you hear about sometimes, even outside of speedrunning circles, people are pretty familiar with how, Ocarina of Time has been, broken down and down and down. Um, for anyone who is less technically savvy, or if you're looking for something that just destroys a game rather than playing it in a way that you're familiar with, this is a good watch. It may be extremely confusing, and that's kind of part of the appeal of it. Um, this is an example of a game with ACE, or arbitrary code execution, and what James described about having your angle and position. That is basically like ways of manipulating the game into doing very unintended things. So
Yeah, you're quite literally rewriting the code of the game by your actions.
yeah, exactly. Hence why it's arbitrary code execution. And then after that is
Untitled Goose Game.
Honk.
I know nothing about this run. It's 100% co-op, but Untitled Goose Game is hilarious. And if you haven't played it, you should play it because
Honk.
it's hilarious and so ridiculous.
Honk.
And I'm trying to explain. Stop honking. Actually, I have nothing to explain, so honk.
Honk.
It will be a
Honk.
co-op run, which was an update that was added post-launch in that game. So that'll also kind of give it an extra dimension. You're going to try to, be as annoying as possible.
Would it be Untitled Geese Game then?
Probably.
Yeah.
And speaking
Honk.
of,
Honk.
and speaking of animals
Honk.
that are, kind of weird, we do have Fight Crab.
Snip, snip.
That comes after that. That's also by Shasta's brother, Teddy
Yeah.
Rass.
Teddy Rez. Fight
So,
crab.
How would you describe this run?
You are a crab with a samurai sword or any other object that you want, and you fight other crabs, and you do that as fast as you can. It's one of those runs you gotta see to believe. It's very hilarious. Every time Teddy has run it in a marathon, it's gone over super well, and everyone's just loved it. Like both his energy and also just like how the game looks and feels in general is just, it makes for just a really hilarious speedrun. I gotta mention as well too, with Untitled Goose Game, the last game we just mentioned, it starts what's called the silly block of Summer Games Done Quick, which features a bunch of silly games in a row. I think in this case it's going from Untitled Goose Game until I think Time Gate Knight's Chase is the last silly block game on the schedule. So
there's a lot.
Keep that in mind for the next few games we're talking about here.
Next few starting with Fight Crab and Untitled Goose are part of the silly block.
Yeah,
and there's another one, another animal based game right after that.
Yeah, I Am Fish, which is made by the people who made I Am Bread. Now, to play I Am Fish, you actually play as a fish in a glass fishbowl that's like, it's not open or anything, so you just roll around. The way you move in that game is you just go back and forth on your controller, just like I don't know if you can hear this, but like that, just over and over again to move around, just flap your tail back and forth because you're a goldfish. and you gotta do that to actually make it to the end of each level, and there's a lot of things that can stop you and break your fishbowl and everything. There are also some skips as well too that are gonna happen in that run, because I checked this out ahead of time. It's really, really good. That's a very silly run you do not want to miss as well.
Directly after that is The Legend of Zelda Link, The Faces of Evil. That is from Grumpmeister, who is very well known for his CDI runs. If you enjoy something a little sillier, something that, I think a lot of you guys are familiar with those games, that they exist, but actually seeing someone play through it isn't particularly common. This particular run will also show all cutscenes. So if you're looking for something to laugh at, something chill, and if you like Europop music, you will want to keep this one in mind.
People don't talk about the soundtrack of the Zelda CDI games enough. It's really good.
It's very good, yeah. It's kind of ridiculous how good it is.
Yeah.
My boy.
And then I think our last game in the silly block
Second last.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's Arabian Nights. This is a PC game. It is also a broken mess. How come all the games I'm talking about are so broken?
We know what you like.
Hey, you like what you like, alright?
Yeah, I like what I like, apparently. But you're playing through an Arabian Night game. You move by doing this weird backflip thing. Everybody is incredibly hostile towards you. You are out of bounds for like 85% of the run. The game will probably crash at least once during this speed run. It's, oh my god, it's so ridiculous. Any percent with dialogue basically means that, like, people will be talking. The voice acting is terrible. just watch it. Arabian Nights was in a previous GDQ. That is the hardest I've ever laughed at a game in my entire life. So yeah, it's crazy.
So that brings us to Thursday, July 8th, and something significant in that day is that we do have a Sonic block. It's pretty traditional that there is a Sonic the Hedgehog block at GDQ. And a couple of games we want to talk about on Thursday involve that, and the first one is Sonic 3D Blast.
Yeah, so I don't really want to say anything too in depth about this one, but basically this is going to be a 2 players, 1 controller run between TGH and Amber Cyprin. So one person holds one half of the controller, the other person holds the other half of the controller, and that's how they play. So yep. It's just worth watching to see how coordinated they are. Yeah, and people who aren't familiar with Sonic 3D Blast, it's all about collecting the flickies and depositing them at the goal. So you're really going to see like routing in terms of like the most efficient way to get flickies, the most efficient way to bring them to the end, that kind of thing. And this run is simply beating the game, so we're not going to be going for all Chaos Emeralds. But TGH and Amber are they're both friends of ours. They're a Riot. You probably know TGH potentially from his Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening runs, or his Undertale run back at, what was that, AGDQ
or Celeste
17?
As well.
Celeste too.
So they're both very talented, great pair. So you're gonna want to see that. And the other Sonic game in that Sonic block that we'd like to bring up is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Now, people, I think, in Discord know how much I cannot stand that game, but Dage 4 is an extremely talented runner. Some people
he has liquor in both categories for the bid war. Both Hero Story and Dark Story. Some people refer to him as a human TAS, and if you're not familiar with the term TAS, that's tool-assisted speedrun, which is essentially a computer-made run where you essentially are assigning inputs frame by frame and then playing them back. It's a theoretical, like, how fast could you possibly do this sort of thing, and is often not able to be done by human players. So if you call someone a human TAS, you can kind of imagine the sort of precision and skill they have. This is a game that will have a bid war, so you'll be able to donate to decide whether Dage runs Hero Story or Dark Story. And both of those categories have so many skips and all kinds of crazy stuff. You're going to be skipping a chunk of City Escape. There's, a chunk of crazy gadget that, you just fly through the air to the end goal if you're on Hero Story. And Dark Story has its own crazy stuff as well. Either way, you're going to love this one. It's a real good crowd pleaser. It's a good mix of traditional play and like some weird bugs and stuff that kind of just drives it over the top. And then at the end of that day, Thursday, we got Pokemon Black and White, which is a race. One person will be playing Pokemon Black and one person will be playing Pokemon White. If you want to talk about that, Shasta. Yeah, so Pokemon Black and White is part of Gen 5, my favorite generation of Pokemon. You're not going to miss this one just because, I know there are very subtle differences between both versions for the run. I don't know exactly what off the top of my head, though. I do know for a fact that for a while, Emboar, the Firestar, was like the fastest Pokemon to use for the entire run, but more recently, the fastest Pokemon now is getting a Stoutland, or like a little pup right at the beginning of the run, and like making it a Stoutland and using that for the entire run. That was more of a recent thing that's apparently is faster than using Emboar.
It's broken. It's broken.
Really cool.
I've done one run. It's ridiculous.
So
I'm not sure if both runners will be doing that, but yeah, there'll be some slight differences between both. That'll be mentioned in the commentary, but it's gonna be a really cool race.
Yeah, the estimate for this is 3.5 hours, so they're playing through the entirety of this in that time.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to Friday, first thing I'd like to mention is Super Mario Bros. 2. This is the All-Stars version by Cool Kid. Cool Kid is one of the best Super Mario Bros. 2 players.
I would say the best,
period.
actually.
Yeah, probably the best, honestly. and he'll be going through. Instead of using warps, he'll be going through every level. The execution in Super Mario Bros. 2 is wild. So if you want to see someone play that game extremely well and extremely efficiently, that's a good clean run to watch. It has an estimate of 25 minutes. And directly after that, we got Streets of Rage 4, which is going to be an arcade mode on Mania difficulty, playing as Cherry Hunter. Streets of Rage 4 is a beat 'em up. Without going into too much detail, there's a lot of great music. The game looks beautiful, and the game's combo system is very in-depth and fun to mess around with. So you're going to see the runner, the Mighty Bill, kind of just plow through this game and destroy it. You know, beat 'em up games are known for, like, you die a lot of times, you'll have to continue and stuff. And in arcade mode, you cannot continue. Once you lose all your lives, there are no credits. The game's just over. So he's going to be doing that within 50 minutes. So it's going to be kind of wild. And then next is something that y'all will be familiar with, is Astros Playroom, if you guys want to talk about that for a second.
Yes. So Astros Playroom is basically the PS5 test demo game. So Astro is this little robot that you play as. He's got very limited powers. Including, like, basically punching and hovering. But you get a couple, like, extra suit upgrades as well that you play with. So most of the game is some basic platforming, but the thing that's kind of insane is how the suit powers are used, especially the monkey power-up.
Oh, that's
just watching how fast the freaking monkey goes up the thing. It's so ridiculous.
It's so cool.
Definitely check it out.
So next is actually a task that I mentioned before for Sonic Heroes. If you want to briefly mention how that works.
Yeah, so in Sonic Heroes, you're playing as Team Sonic in this run. You have Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Each of them have unique powers, and the task basically uses those 3 powers to break the game. So if you like hearing somebody mash the X button 30 times a second, and then the different cries of all the characters for 40 minutes, it's a very ridiculous task.
It's a very funny one. And on kind of the opposite end of that is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild All Dungeons.
So Breath of the Wild, as with most other Zelda games, is very broken, and it has a lot of really cool glitches, including one you've probably seen. Actually, you can basically take your shield out as you fall, and then kind of slow down time using your bow and arrow, and that'll fling you, like, across the planet. So you can abuse that, as well as many other glitches, just to go through all the dungeons and beat Ganon insanely fast. The estimate for this is 2 hours, so yeah, it's a very quick one based on the scale of the game.
And later, closing out Friday, is the Bishi Bashi, a rare arcade speedrun.
Yeah, Bishi Bashi is a ridiculous game, and that's all I really have to say about that. And someone is speedrunning an arcade game, and it's really, really cool and funny.
It's a lot of smashing buttons.
Yeah,
we're starting to run out of time, so I'm going to have to speed through Saturday. We have Super Meat Boy Forever coming up.
Yeah, so GDQ, Super Meat Boy Forever sponsored GDQ for a long time, and now they finally have their run, and now the game's released. It's really fast and really cool. I know the game runs for bits. I know, and also it's a random seed game, so, like, people get the runners get different levels at certain times to, like, get to the boss fight. It's really cool. Check it out.
Pokemon Emerald is after that, glitchless any percent.
Yeah, you basically just play through the game as fast as you can. There are some tricks, such as, like, manipulating the Pokemon starter you get. So it's not just, like, you know, a regular playthrough, but it's also done very, very quickly.
And after that is Bowser's Fury, which is any percent, no amiibo, so you can't scan Bowser to make Fury Bowser spawn. It's a lot of really cool movement. If you're familiar with Super Mario Odyssey's movement, some of that has been kind of translated into this game. So you're looking to just get 50 cat shrines and beat Bowser as fast as possible. It's just very entertaining. It's only 38 minutes. And after that is Mario Kart 64.
Mario Kart 64, the category is 150cc all cups skips. Now, there's actually a lot of ways to, instead of going around the track 3 times, there are ways to actually abuse the checkpoint system of Mario Kart 64 to just kind of complete the track as fast as possible. Like, for instance, Warriors Stadium is like the biggest track in the game. It takes like almost 2 minutes to go all around it if you do it quickly. But you can beat it in like 20 seconds if you know what you're doing by just going over the wall twice at the beginning, and that counts as a lap. for
It's so
instance.
dumb.
It's so
Yeah.
good. I like you don't miss that run on Sunday morning. It's one of my favorites in general in speedrunning.
Yep. And then Super Metroid is a crowd pleaser. Have three of the best Super Metroid players doing a race to get 100%, which is all items, collecting everything and finishing the game. It has an estimate of an hour 20. If you've recently played Super Metroid or you want a refresher before we get into Metroid Dread, this is an incredible display of skill. Just extremely
Absolutely.
technical game. It's a classic for all kinds of reasons, and it pops up at GDQ very often because of just how skill-based it is. And speaking of skill-based, I think the last game
Oh
we'd
my
like to
goodness.
highlight on Saturday and
kidding.
in the marathon is Super Mario 64, and that is 70-star blindfolded.
Blindfolded.
Yeah, so in Super Mario 64, you need 70 stars to beat the game. So this guy's going to get 70 stars. So there's no major glitches involved. But the guy's using a blindfold. So he has to have a lot of cues and setups to get everywhere that he needs to go and get all these 70 stars. And basically, if he messes up at any time, he basically has to restart the level because he's not in a position where he knows where he is. Yeah, he beats it in 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is 3 hours faster than I can beat it without a blindfold.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So with that, we're gonna wrap up. Before we do wrap up, there are a couple other games we just like to shout out that you might want to catch during the week that we won't really be able to talk about. But opening the marathon is Dragon Age Inquisition. Also on Sunday.
That game is an action RPG, and it's being in 50 minutes, so you don't want to miss that. I don't even know how it's even possible.
Yeah. Also Sunday will be Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. Monday, we would recommend you check out Tiny Toon's Adventure, Batman on NES, and Ninja Gaiden 1. And Wednesday, we have Mischief Makers.
Shake.
We have Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, a Virgil playthrough, and Bayonetta 1. Thursday, our friend Cosmic is running Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed, which is a Game Boy Advance Need for Speed run.
It's part of the silly block as well.
Yep. Friday, Ponpu is fun, kind of like Bomberman.
It's like any Bomberman.
And Fire Emblem Three Houses, which we know we have a lot of Fire Emblem fans here. It's an hour and a half, and they're going to be doing a bid war on which ending you go for, which school you go with. Also on Friday is SpongeBob Truth or Square, which you might laugh, but has a lot of interesting stuff going on it, and that's by our friend Jaxler.
And
also a
Bubble
race
Bass, who has no pickles.
Don't forget the pickles!
Very lastly, we are closing on Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix as our final game. It's going to be a critical mode run, any percent, so just whatever you need to do to get to the credits. That is going to be done within an estimate of 3 hours and 15 minutes on Sunday. And that's kind of it. There's plenty of other stuff that'll be going on during the week. You'll be seeing staff interviews. You'll be seeing prizes that are given out if you donate to the cause. It's going to be a lot of great entertainment. It's all going to end by Sunday, July 11th. So it's pretty much a full week. And thank you guys for listening to this. James and Shasta, do you have any final thoughts?
I do. I love how we said you don't want to miss that to basically every single game that we mentioned.
Yeah.
That's my only thought.
These are the
I
highlights.
just kind of
people.
found that funny.
This is the good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
You don't
we
wanna miss
highlighted most of Monday in general. I think Monday is especially the day you do not want to miss, pretty much any run.
Yeah, Monday and Saturday.
Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And, any last thoughts for you, Shasta?
Speedrunning is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
All right, cool. Well, again, thank you both James and Mr. Shasta for joining us today on the podcast to talk about SGDQ 2021. We hope you found it interesting. We hope maybe if you haven't watched one of these events before, or you're not sure what to pay attention to, that maybe some of these are going to be good picks and you'll enjoy them. And lastly, good luck to you, Shasta, on your Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland Meta Nightmare race with rocks.
Thank you very much.
Definitely don't miss that. If you do miss the marathon live, videos will be posted on their YouTube afterwards. And yeah, that's it for this episode, everybody. Thank you once again, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast.